Hello and welcome everybody to the Thing I Love Most show. Once again, the thing we do love most is Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And this week I'm joined once again by Leigh Curtin. Welcome, Leigh.
Evening.
How are we doing? We have a very special guest tonight. We have Mr. Tim Leonard all the way from New York City. Welcome, Tim.
Instead of evening, I'll say afternoon.
Oh, you and your time difference. I mean, before we get into the nitty gritty of the previous game that we had yesterday, and obviously just looking forward to the rest of the week, let's sort of just introduce yourself to us, if you may. So, firstly, the fact you're obviously a Tottenham fan, which is good. Your accent doesn't sound like you're from Enfield. So, if you could explain a bit about yourself and a bit about your background, it would be great.
Well, I've been a sports writer for almost about 30 years. Spent a lot of that, in fact, most of it covering football. The first time I was ever paid for writing was actually a college we call soccer match over here. I've covered pretty much every level, be it schoolboy, professional, World Cup, Women's World Cup. I mean, you name it, I've covered it. Tottenham is a club that I kind of ran into accidentally in the early 80s. I won't explain the technology back then, but let's say safe to say that there barely was any. But on this television channel that I found that was kind of like looking through a snowstorm, I got to see games once a week on Sundays. And back then with Ozzy Ardiles and Glenn Hoddle and guys like that, that's why I became a Tottenham fan, because they were on most of the matches. With most weeks it was a Tottenham match, so I just kind of figured, all right, I'll support these guys.
Fantastic, happy days.
Yeah.
And have you been to any games over here, or have you seen them when they come over? Yeah.
Yes. Well, actually, when Spurs came over 2 years ago to the States and they played at Red Bull Arena, I actually covered that match. And also wrote a feature story about on Harry Kane for a website over here called EmpireSoccer.com. So, and that was pretty well received. But I've been to 4 matches over there actually. Best match that I went to that I have to say was one that I actually had a press pass for it. So I was sitting right behind the bench, and it was against Manchester United in the snow, when Clint Dempsey scored the equalizer that gave us the 2-2 draw. And that was back when AVB was the manager.
Oh, right,
but,
yeah.
We in the media are not supposed to cheer when somebody scores, but let's just say inside I was well chuffed, as they say. That's the American scoring a goal from my club.
Absolutely. Top man. Brilliant. Okay. So the format of the show, as I'm heard, you're a fan of the show anyway, but we're just going to have a little catch up about yesterday's match, and then also look forward to our big game this week in the Champions League. And then we've had loads of questions come in on our social media channels, so we'll be working our way through those as well. So firstly, let's talk about the game. I do believe it was yesterday. I get so confused when I do this show and the flipping just going out on the weekend and just drinking too much. So it was yesterday, I believe.
Yes.
It was against Leicester, and we did win. Good. My memory's not that bad.
Yes, all 3 correct.
Yes, 10 points. It certainly wasn't one of our best performances. I think we'd all admit that. Especially defensively, I think we were pretty suspect, and it was just frustrating to see us concede so many chances against an average Leicester team. Really, to be honest, I mean, I think they're okay, but they're not pushing for the Europa League. They're not really sort of performing that well. They're pretty inconsistent, but they were opening us up time and time again. I mean, if you look at the end result, to get 3-1 out of that, I think is incredible. I really do, because I think we were up against it, especially towards the end. I think for me, that Sissoko run where he basically won the free kick when we were like really, really under the cosh, that for me was almost as vital as Lloris's save. Honestly, we were really, really struggling. We hadn't got a clue. Wanyama looked like he literally just walked off a bus. He was just completely, he was giving the ball away. Walker Peters was again playing at left back, which we don't really think is the best place for him. And so it was all a bit disjointed. Toby had come on and they made it a back three. And it was just every substitution Poch made seemed to make it worse. And it was just encouraging them to come on. And I was like, no. And it was just like that classic. The old Tottenham would have drawn that game or lost that game. I know that for a fact. But somehow, because of what Sissoko brought to that particular moment, that run, that driving run, took us up the pitch, won the free kick, got the crowd going. It was almost as good as a goal. Like I'm telling you, it was amazing. And then obviously we got the luck at the end with the Son chance. But to be fair, for him to outrun a defender after 90 minutes and after the sort of last few months that he's had, I was really, really impressed because he looked absolutely knackered. And even when he celebrated, he just went on his knees and he was just like, I can't really get up now. It was brilliant. But I think if we look at the lineup first of all, when I saw it, and I'm sure most of you saw it, when you saw Skip and Winks in the middle, you didn't really think they're going to dominate or there's going to be much creativity there. And then when you haven't got Lamela or Moura on there as well, you're really struggling for creativity. And obviously Eriksen did play well, but I just felt that we were lacking with that sort of that unlocking of the final pass. And obviously we've got Llorente up there, who's a different player. I thought he had an okay game yesterday, not too bad. So Leigh, if I start on you, what was when you saw that lineup? What did you think? Toby on the bench, was he again resting him for Europe? It seems strange that they seem to be resting these players for big games.
Yeah, I think he's looked ahead at the European game for sure. And then with you, when I seen Skip and Winks in there, I think Poch kind of was thinking ahead in terms of they play that free as well, don't they? They play Maddison in behind, along with the other two, and then one up front. So the only shock on my part was that Vardy didn't actually start. And although they haven't been clinical, the three that sit behind their, call it number 9, they can be a bit of a handful. They have got good movement in there. So I think sitting 2 players in Winks and Skip was designed to break up what those 3 could actually offer and flip it around, make sure that our 3 were more dominant. But as you say, we didn't really click and we did look a bit disjointed and we did miss Toby. We did miss Toby. I thought Jan was quite good, but Sanchez is still, he's 2 seasons deep now, and and he scored, and he was average defensively, as were all of them, to be honest with you. But I just feel when it's Sanchez +1 that they've got their work cut out. I don't think we give up as many chances when you see when you see Jan and Toby in there. When it's Toby plus Sanchez or Jan plus Sanchez, we seem to give up that extra 1 or 2 chances a game. So you can see he's not quite ready, but he is only 22, I believe.
Yeah.
So I mean, he will. I mean, he's gonna develop into a beast of a central defender. He really will. And there's just little glimpses of him. I see yesterday he made a little run down the line himself, almost Jan-like. So it's little things seem to be rubbing off, but it's not the right here and not the right now. And yeah, because of that, I felt we just invited Leicester on a little bit more than we probably set out to do. And yeah, we got away with it. We did get away with it a little bit, and we've gone back. If we go back previous weeks, if we score first, we kind of we put those teams away. Yesterday, we've been screaming to score the first goal for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah.
And we went and done it, and then we kind of just, like panic stations, really. We just we didn't really know what to do with ourselves. But while we are here, I have to say, I thought Llorente his service was poor to him. But you could see his game sharpness coming back. He took the ball down in the middle of the pitch, and he made a little run forward, 10 yards with the ball, laid it off, and that's where the corner actually came from. Right. And then he assisted with Eriksen's goal as well. So although we didn't play to his strengths, you could see what the regular game time has done for him in terms of him picking up the ball, having a better touch, bringing the other players into him. So Yeah, it was a funny team to set out with, and I just thought Hodge thought we might just be stronger than them. He almost matched them up in terms of lineup, but thought we would just be stronger than them. And yeah, we were in the end through probably a better class of player individually, but yeah, we made it hard work. That's for sure.
Tim, can you remember a match where we have conceded 20 shots at home to an away team who weren't a champion? I mean, it was incredible.
I was surprised, especially the second half. I mean, it just seemed like they just kept coming at us, and our defense was just far too happy just to kick the ball away, as opposed to getting it, controlling it. And I mean, what does Tottenham do better than any team in the Premier League? Square pass, back pass, control the ball, control the tempo, and we did none of that yesterday. It was just run the ball up and then 2-3 passes and give it away, and here comes Leicester again. And as much as they had a lot of chances, like you said, I almost felt like the game wasn't necessarily as much of a grind as some of the previous games have been, where, you know, like the Fulham game where it was the late goal. It was so late. This one, at least the result, I don't want to say it wasn't in doubt, but having the 2-1 lead and then Sonny getting the late goal and being able to put it away, and you could just say before the final whistle, all right, this one's over, 3-1. The one thing I want to make, and you were talking about Sissoko making the run, I thought what I thought was going to be a clearance on the pass that he sent forward to Sonny really was a pass.
Yeah,
and it was just brilliant.
Yeah,
I mean, he put it exactly where it needed to be. It was inches away from the Leicester defender, and there goes Sonny. And the one thing that I remembered when Sonny was running behind the defenders, he was on our half of the field. I remembered, what was it, I think it was 3 years ago, where Harry Kane did something like that, and they called him offside.
Yeah.
And I was, as soon as I saw Sonny on our side of the field, but behind the defenders, I'm like, please don't blow the whistle. And then he was just off to the races.
I mean, you say don't blow the whistle. I mean, that first half, I can't remember a refereeing performance like it. It was just like, he was just terrible. I mean, we'll talk about the Son, obviously, the penalty, if it was a penalty or not. It definitely looked like there was contact. And surely, if there's any doubt, maybe you don't have to give the foul, but you can't book him. That was just ridiculous.
Because to me, it was clear there was contact, and it was clear it was a foul. But then he actually gives Sonny the yellow, and I'm like, what is this referee looking at?
Yeah, exactly. And then if you look at the penalty on Maddison, I think it's a coming together of players, but you get that because it's a contact sport. Maddison sort of goes into Jan more than Jan goes into Jan. Jan's sort of just standing there. He's walking towards the action, but it's for me, it's really soft. I thought really soft. Well, what did you think, Leigh?
Go ahead, Leigh.
I was going to say, I think with the Son one, I fully agree. I could see where you could go 50-50. I could see where you say, do you know what, Son looked for it by making the contact. Maguire puts his leg across, and you could say that Son looked for it by initiating contact. But that will be down to you put two referees in there. I don't think they come up with the same answer. And the worst thing you can do there was actually just totally insult us by pulling out a yellow card, and calling simulation. And then go up the other end, and actually Maddison, he went looking for just to get goal side.
Yeah.
So he's trying to get round him and block anything that Maddison wants to hit. So if Maddison wants to hit a shot, Jan's trying to get behind to block. And Maddison's kind of momentum took him into it. So he went looking for it as well. So it was a bit of a kick in the teeth, because you got to look at both of them and go, well, you didn't give one, but you've given the other, and then to rub it in, you've given our player a yellow card for simulation. And I thought it was an all-round horrible performance from Oliver yesterday. It was just the way. I mean, what was we 3 yellow cards at half time? I was starting to fear that somebody would walk. yeah, he was just horrible yesterday, and probably took a little bit out of the game actually.
Yeah, he was really really annoying. But when Vardy came on to take that penalty at the time, not to do with the fact it was Lloris in goal, who I can't remember ever saving a penalty, but did you think it was a good idea for us that Vardy was coming on, or did you think, oh, he's just going to bag?
I love the fact that he wanted to take. I love the fact that they handed him the ball. I love that. I was like, oh, well, actually, I was really insulted. I was sitting at the TV going, you're taking the proverbial here. You're taking liberties with us. You've got to walk onto the pitch. Your first touch, you think you're just going to tuck it into our net. I was losing it. I was absolutely losing it. He bottled one in the World Cup, and I'm pretty sure that's what Danny Rose and Trippier told him.
Yeah, Danny Rose definitely said something like that. Class. I love that.
Yeah, they both were getting in his ear.
Yeah, it's the other angle. Trippier had him up first, and then Rose just left it until the referee pushed him away.
Can you imagine if they just said, yeah, where were you in Russia? What happened, mate?
I'm pretty sure it's something like that.
That's amazing. I love that so much.
I was hugely insulted that he thought he was just going to come on and put the ball down. So, do you know what?
To be fair, he was coming on before, though. When I didn't realise that, I thought they literally brought him on just for the pen. But he was coming on before. We didn't know that from in the crowd, but
he was ready. He was ready to go.
That was the timing of it. But yeah, I mean, I'm like Leigh. I mean, when they were handing him the ball, and like you said, I mean, he hadn't done anything yet, and here he is stepping up to take a penalty. I know he's their guy, and he's the guy who's supposed to take it. But I was like, this is our. He's cold. Yeah, he warmed up, but he hasn't had a touch yet. Fine, let him take his chance. And that over here, that was the big point of contention after the match, and in the post match analysis that they did is what was Leicester thinking, letting Vardy take this penalty? Yeah. He hadn't done anything. Why not let somebody who's actually been playing for however many minutes it was, and let somebody who's actually been involved and on the pitch and let them take it. He doesn't have to always be that guy, but. Hey, I'll say thank you. Yeah,
I mean, Maddison's a decent set piece taker, so
right.
I would have fancied him, and I mean, it wasn't a great penalty, but obviously we're going to give Lloris credit because he made the save, but it wasn't. I'm still getting over the fact when he walked into the post at the end of the first half, Lloris, when he had that shot, I was like, what is going on? He was so surprised it was there. It's like, you're a goalkeeper. How can you be shocked there's a goalpost there? It was so funny. It hit him in the chest, and he's like, oh, man.
Excuse me.
It's like, what? Whoa. That was a decent shot. That's the kind of shot I used to do when I used to play football. Like, try and curl it in with them, outside of the right foot jobbies. Lloris did have a good game, actually, to be fair. I mean, to be fair, none of the saves that he made were crazily good, but they were still obviously had to be made. The chance in the second half where it sort of was straight at him was good reflexes, got down low, and the penalty was pretty good. When Vardy did step up, then what were you thinking in your heads, chaps? Tim first, what were you thinking? Did you think it was going to be a goal?
Well, like I said, when it's his first touch of the match, and I thought that was our best chance was him taking it.
And were you confident in a save?
Yeah, I wasn't. I'm never confident in a save on a penalty, just because every one of them should get buried.
Yeah.
But I was more confident than I normally would be, only because I didn't think Vardy was gonna hit a corner or anything, because again, he just can't come on the pitch. So I figured Lloris obviously is going to guess, but he guessed well, and as you said, Nolh, the shot wasn't very good.
No.
So, well done by Hugo.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I thought if you're going to come on, it's going to be your first touch. It's leather and laces. It goes straight down the middle. It's just leather and laces. And Vardy's kind of done that a few times. And I'm the same. You're never really confident your goalkeeper's going to save it. You just kind of hope your goalkeeper's going to save it. And I was kind of saying, I was actually more confident in Vardy missing. I thought he's actually I fancied him to miss the target completely, to be honest.
Okay.
What, you thought he was going to go road 20?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought he would just go lever it and it would go blazing over or wide. I was more surprised that he actually tried to place it. And I thought Hugo might have his number if he tried to place it.
Yeah.
And I don't often get that feeling, but I just thought it's such a liberty that they took with us. I was so insulted. I woke up this morning still insulted.
Oh, you always take it so personally. Such a sensitive soul.
I am. But we're no mugs, so don't treat us like that. It's bang out of order. But no, brilliant. You know what? Fair play. We spoke about Hugo last week on the show, and his name's been bantered around a few times, and credit where credit's due. He stood up. He stood up long. He stood up tall for those kind of one-on-ones. He did enough to make the player to make the striker that Harvey Barnes made him show his move first. So fair play. Great stop with the penalty as well. Yeah, is at a good height, but still got to deal with it. Credit where credit's due. Yesterday he stood up and was counted. And quite surprising, talking about stats, I didn't realise that he's faced 24 penalties and he's saved 6. So his ratio is 1 in 4.
Well, I did not know that, and that surprises me because everyone that I can remember,
that surprises me too.
He gets nowhere near.
Exactly. So someone find 5 of.
Well, okay. Don't know where you've been getting your stats from. Don't know if you know. Okay, so we had a question on Instagram earlier on today, and I will actually quote the source because we have been really pleased with the amount of people that are actually getting in touch with us. And it was Alex Diaz. Alex Diaz asked the question, who was your man in the match yesterday? And for me, it was Winks, actually. And it has been Winks for quite a few games, it seems now. He seems to be at a real high level of performance. And I think he had to try and step up a little bit because he was next to Skip. And, Skip for me was not like a rabbit in headlights, but I think he was struggling with the force moving forward because Sissoko was a little bit further up the field. He was just too simple for me. He was just too safe. He gets stuck in, which is great, and I think he's going to be a good player. But when he did get the ball, he just didn't do enough with it in that role, in that formation that we played, which was disappointing. But Winks, for me, there were so many times where he won the ball back and so many times when he did all these different things. And we were like, oh, yeah, well done, Chips. And then we were like, that's not Chips, that's Winks. Or I was just like, he was everywhere. He was absolutely everywhere. And obviously, Eriksen would get the plaudits and because he got obviously a goal and an assist. But for me, Winks was a man yesterday. So I don't know if you guys agree. Leigh, who was your man in the match? I'm
kind of with you, actually. I'd have probably edged just towards Winks. It was just nice from my point of view to see Eriksen turn up again. It's like, welcome back, Christian. I think you're right. I think Winks he's just matured, hasn't he? He's really matured, and he grabs hold of the game, and that's what you want him to do. He's not going to be Dembele. We're going to miss Dembele in that. But the game's evolving, the game moves on, and maybe a Dembele type player is kind of maybe last season almost, and but he's done a job. He gets hold of the ball and he plays the first pass safe. He's looking up for the next pass, gets the ball back, and then bang, the next pass has gone already. And he's added a little bit of steel to his game in terms of trying to chuck his 5'8", 9.5 stone body in the way, and we'll always take that. I think I'll go with that. I think I'll go with Winks.
Tim?
I'd like to agree with Winks and give him the clean sweep, but I was leaning Eriksen just because, like what Leigh said, he really had been invisible for the last few games, and it was nice to see Christian Eriksen show up again, and especially in this time frame with Harry Kane and with Dele both still on the sideline. This is the Christian Eriksen that Spurs need, is the guy who can take more control of a match and really kind of dictate what we're doing offensively. And I think we saw more of that on yesterday than we'd seen in at least the previous 3 games. So I was, he may not have been the man of the match, but it was just really nice to see that Christian Eriksen back on the pitch for Spurs.
Do you think Poch's decision to rest him for the Palace FA Cup game was maybe justified in that performance? The fact he was a little bit better and he did step up. I mean, who's to say what the condition he was in at that time? But obviously, he didn't even put him on the bench, and we went out and we lost, which was obviously at the time incredibly disappointing and frustrating for all of us. But I suppose you could now look at yesterday's game and say, if he hadn't have done that, maybe wouldn't he have lasted the 90 minutes, or would he have been tired, and would he have got the goal and an assist? So it's a strange one, really, to try and consider. Obviously, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I think there may be some justification in there.
Yeah, and I think that's also a big part of why some guys weren't on the pitch yesterday, was because with Dortmund coming on Wednesday. I mean, that Poch usually makes those moves. He does those well, where we may not like it that a guy, one of the players isn't in the lineup, or a couple of players aren't on the pitch, but he's thinking bigger picture, and he's all right. I'm going to need guys on Wednesday. I can't keep running everybody into the ground. At some point we're going to have to test our depth and see, what can Skip give us in a match like this. And like it's like you said, Nolh. I mean, Leicester isn't what they used to be. They are, they're a 12th or 13th place club. So we shouldn't need our best 11 to beat them. And it's a good chance to give somebody like Skip a start and to test him, and let's see what he can give us, and let's see what he's actually capable of against somebody that's not Fulham or Huddersfield, or like a decent club, but not somebody that we shouldn't beat.